Be like, I gotta walk the cat real quick.
I gotta go file my taxes.
I gotta go file my taxes. My 401k. I gotta go check it.
Okay,
Is that the deal? That's par for the course.
Andrew says, let's fucking go.
Let's go.
Welcome to episode 374 of Cinematary. We're gonna talk about fucking bitches.
In part one, we're gonna talk about bitches we fucked this week. And in part two,
We are live right now, by the way.
no.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about bitches that I made love to.
Thank you. Seth.
Respectfully.
Respectful women, I respectfully made love to.
It was good for everybody involved.
All right, we're gonna go Seth and then
Oh no, I can't
and
believe
then-
we're alive.
and then Jandrew over there.
Okay.
Second.
Oh no.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. And welcome to episode 374 of Cinematary. I'm your host, Zach Dennis, and I'm here with
Seth.
Jessy?
And Andrew. I guess we're just doing first names this time.
just first names.
Wow.
I just followed Seth's lead on that one.
And on today's
Got
episode,
better.
we're going to be talking about movies that we saw this week in part 1. And in part 2, we're going to be going down going down in terms of quality.
We're going down on Shrek. Is that
We're
what's
going
happening?
down. If you're taking a
Yeah.
stock watch, it was going up, and then we went Shrek 3.
Yeah. Time for the downswing.
Yeah, and so we're
Yeah.
gonna be talking about 2007 Shrek the Third, which
Best movie of all time.
in a way,
Probably at least to one person.
there's a lot of people. We can
No.
talk about that. We can talk about it on. There's a lot of affection for Shrek the Third on Letterboxd.
I
so.
saw one person that said that it invented feminism, which
Yeah, I
I
can't
have
wait.
thoughts about that.
Yeah, you got a lot of thoughts about
I
that.
can
Oh,
see
cool. That's what it was doing.
I was wondering what that movie was trying to do.
Real quickly, head over to cinematary.com. We got a new review by Logan Kinney of Cry Macho, the new Clint Eastwood movie, which just left HBO Max.
Oh.
So,
Man, I would think that it would just be coming on HBO Max because of it finishing its theatrical run. What's the deal with that?
I don't know. It's off HBO Max now.
Where are they gonna put it now?
They're gonna just hold it until it
In the
goes back
Disney
on
vault.
HBO. In the HBO vault, yeah. But let's go ahead and jump in the movies that we saw this week. I'm gonna toss it over to Jess and Andrew. You all saw a new release.
Yeah.
Yeah, which one do you want to start with?
Let's start for fun. Let's start with the Muppets
Let's start with Muppets.
Haunted Mansion.
There's a theme for our recent podcast appearances, and it is Muppets.
All I care about these days is the Muppets. That's all I want to do. That's the only thing that makes me feel real good. So we're just doing that constantly. We're constantly watching the
Yeah.
Muppets.
For context, anyone who's not followed the saga so far, I watched a Muppet movie when it had a 40th anniversary theatrical screening,
Yeah.
and then I told
And then I got radicalized.
I got radicalized by it. I've cut ties with my family.
There's
came
more you
home.
could do.
He came home. He went and watched The Great Muppet Caper. He
Yeah.
came home and he's like, "Hey, I really like this. I kind of think I might like to watch all the rest of them." I said, "Say no more."
Yeah.
I'm in.
And
We're
we
doing
have
this.
now watched all of them,
We've seen
which is
every
8 Muppet movies,
Except for Muppets Wizard of Oz.
It's a TV movie,
Whatever.
which is actually relevant here
Wow.
because the new movie Muppets Haunted Mansion would also be a TV movie if cable television was still a thing.
Yeah.
It even says in the credits it has not a screenplay but a teleplay, and the director is the director of Muppet Wizard of Oz. It's
Weird.
not good. It's about the caliber of what you would expect from a TV special,
Yeah.
but not what you would expect from a Muppet TV special, because the Muppet TV show is great.
Mm.
It's really, really great, and this is not.
It's so not good.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to remember what was not good about it. I would say within the first 5 minutes, there's a call between Gonzo and Kermit.
Yeah.
And they have what is it? What's the Matt who does the Kermit voice?
Yeah, this voice actor who's like amazing in Muppets Most Wanted.
Yeah.
He plays in Muppets Most Wanted. He plays the Kermit.
Matt Vogel.
Matt Vogel. He's the like evil Kermit that
He's
you've seen
Constantine.
in that meme of like Kermit talking to like the Kermit with like the dark cloak over his face.
Oh.
And he's an amazing voice actor. Most Wanted has some of the best voice work I've heard in a long time.
Yes.
Because like you have this character who's not Kermit who attempts to sound like Kermit. So it's like somebody doing a bad Kermit impression through another character.
Yeah.
And there's even like another layer to it at one point when this guy who's trying to sound like Kermit also tries to sound like Kermit, trying to sound like a disco crooner. It's incredible. And like, but he's just the Kermit in this movie.
Mhm.
And I mean, do you want to talk about
I mean,
it?
yeah, the original Kermit was voiced by Jim Henson, who
Yeah.
created the Muppets. He was like one of Jim Henson's like original characters, even before the Muppets were really like a concept.
Mhm.
And so you go from that to, you know, in some of the newer movies, trying to see, it was voiced by
Yeah, I forget this guy's name.
Steve Whitmire.
Steve Whitmire.
And Steve Whitmire does a really good job on some of the newer, and so I don't know if maybe I don't know if he's abandoned the Muppets project altogether.
Frank Oz, who plays Fozzie and was like Jim Henson's partner in crime for the entire run of the Muppets, has left the Muppets and like did so in a way that was like highly publicized. Like I saw Salon articles and stuff about it because of like the things that Disney has done with the property. Because Disney, people don't know, Disney acquired the Muppets right before
Jim
that.
Henson.
I think like that 2011 The Muppets movie came out with oh gosh, what's the guy?
Jason Segel.
Jason Segel, yeah. And like that movie is okay enough. Like it has jokes in it, but I personally like that's the one of the only of the 8 Muppet movies that I struggle to connect to because so much of it feels like Disney kind of playing into the idea of like worshiping IP. Like the whole premise of that movie is like a guy, a Muppet, like the character is played by a puppet, who's like grew up obsessed with the Muppets, wants to join the Muppets and ends up getting to join the Muppets. And it's all about just like worshiping some sort of pop culture artifact and like kind of getting rewarded for like understanding all the references. And like that just is such a great synergy with the like awful things that Disney has done with IP since like the MCU kicked off. And like it just feels very like mercenary and craven and like so at odds with this of the Muppets. It was a Jim Henson thing.
Yeah.
And this movie, Muppets Haunted Mansion, which we barely talked about, I apologize, feels a little bit like that.
Well,
like
so
it's just like Muppets as IP.
Yeah, first and foremost, it just I don't know. I think what's going to be fun about following the series, and especially like we're watching the TV show now from the 70s, and then we watched all the Muppet movies now because we're just like really weirdos, I guess. Is you kind of get a sense of these characters as you kind of go through and watch the whole series, and you get a sense of who they are. And so it can be also very interesting to see over the years as some of the actors had to shuffle hands and stuff like that to kind of see how a new actor takes on this character, because they're taking on a character, and it's kind of be fun too because sometimes those characters are taking on a character. Like sometimes Kermit is playing
Captain of a pirate ship.
Yeah,
it's
and
great.
so it can be really interesting to see like an actor taking on this identity of a character like Kermit the Frog or Fozzie Bear, who's then taking on the identity of something, whether it's like a Charles Dickens novel character or somebody on a pirate ship, or so I don't know. So it can be interesting to kind of see how those layers go and follow the series. But it just felt like in this movie there was just no sense of who these characters were at all. Like they're just whoever, and then the voice for Kermit just within the first 5 minutes completely really shattered the whole thing for me. It just felt like I could have done a better Kermit impression, and I'm not going to do it on this podcast, but I could. And I don't know, just the whole thing was just it was like hardly ever funny. And
it's just jokes. Like it's an
yeah.
hour long, and it's like a constant stream of jokes. and almost none of them land. I
Hard-
think I maybe
hardly ever
laughed
funny.
once.
Yeah, there were some
over
moments that I thought were okay. Like there's one musical sequence that I liked pretty well, and they're kind of referencing the Haunted Mansion ride as, and I liked the dynamic because they had what are the old characters' names?
Statler and Waldorf.
Statler and Waldorf's characters heckling, and so it really kind of drew back to the old like Muppet show where it's sort of like a talk show sort of thing.
It's more indebted to the show than any of the movies.
Yeah, so there's this one scene that I thought was kind of fun and ooky spooky Halloween feelings to it, but then most of the time I just felt like the jokes were just trying so hard, or they would go way too long on a joke that just wasn't funny at all. Like there's a part where Rizzo is supposed to be getting married to this like doomed evil bride person.
She's like a succubus.
Yeah, and she keeps like making a joke about like, oh, you're just like my little sexy prawn, and she makes that same.
Oh, it's not
joke.
Rizzo. It's the King Prawn guy. I'm forgetting his name.
Oh yeah, he's got the
Prawn.
big eyes.
The guy who says okay.
Yeah, I like him too. He's just a prawn, okay? But they just make the same jokes so many times over and over, and it's like this was not even maybe an ounce funny the first time you made this joke, and then they stay with that plot for such a big runtime of this very short movie. I don't know.
It also Gonzo is the lead, who's like maybe my favorite Muppet, and he doesn't like in so many of the movies. Like the best parts of the movies are when Gonzo has a leading role.
Gonzo's just such a fucking freak. Like I love him.
And so like he really comes into his own in like Muppets Christmas Carol, where he's the narrator. He plays Charles Dickens, which is hysterical. And then like they gave him his own movie with Muppets from Space, which is like the rare example of these movies trying to be like really heartfelt and sweet and kind of working. But here, like you get all the Gonzo you could possibly want, but like none of it's funny. Like it's just like it feels like they completely gutted the character, and it's sad.
Yeah, it's like to me mostly I just feel like they have no sense of who these characters are. They're obviously just like churning out something just to get stuff churned out, and they're using these characters as a platform to do it.
My Letterboxd review was content for the content
I
machine.
think it's just hot garbage.
It's just like we needed something for our streaming service on Halloween so that parents can show their kids something. It's not trying to be art.
Super disappointing, and I don't know, but whatever. Like, watch it if you want. It's on Disney Plus.
Do whatever you want.
I think the only way to save it is to do what they did on Rogue One, where they brought a digital version of Tarkin. They got to do that with Charles Grodin now.
Listen, I like that.
That's what would really save it.
Yes.
Boy, he's my favorite Muppet, I gotta say. And Caper is so awesome.
Caper is hysterical, yeah.
Thieves aren't breathing down your neck.
Can I talk about a movie I liked?
Yeah, let's talk about the movie that we both really liked.
So this past week we went and saw The Last Duel. I had never heard of it. I had not seen a single trailer for it. Andrew's dad just kind of roped us into doing something with him, and that was what we did.
It's like my initial impression was like, okay, this is a movie that like, you know, your dad's gonna make you watch.
Yeah.
It's like grizzled dudes hitting each other with swords for 2 hours.
Yeah. And they were like, yeah, well, it has Matt Damon and Adam Driver and what's the guy's name?
Ben Affleck?
Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, sure, why not? Like, I don't have anything better to do except for all of the household chores that I've been putting off all week.
But it's a Ridley Scott movie.
Yeah, but it's by Ridley Scott.
It's good.
But so when it first starts, it's an interesting movie because it's set in like 3 acts, more or less.
They're Rashomon acts.
Yeah.
You get the same events from 3 characters' perspectives.
Right. And so it's the, I guess, historic story of her name Marguerite de Carreau, something like that.
I'm not going to attempt to pronounce any of these characters' names. They're
they're
all French in like the 1300s.
I got no French people in the 1300s. It's this historic story of a French woman named Marguerite de Carreau who gets raped and basically ends up standing trial for it, and like bringing
total dad movie.
Bringing the accusation public, and the 2 men like basically going at it in a bad way.
In a duel?
Yeah, in the Last Duel, if you will.
Well, they're doing like some stealth marketing on this. Like,
Yeah.
there's almost no marketing for this movie in general, which is its own topic.
Mhm.
But they really are advertising it as like grizzled dudes hitting each other with swords.
Mhm.
But it's like a movie about feminism, you know?
Yeah. It's so it's interesting. So the first two acts
Like
are
Shrek
told.
3.
Yes. Yes. The first two acts are told from the men's perspective. So first it's her husband's perspective, next it's the man who rapes her's perspective, and then it's
Adam
finally her
Driver.
perspective. Adam Driver is a rapist in this movie. So content warning, dude. And
Spoilers.
So the first act from Matt Damon's perspective it rushes through really fast, and as I was watching it, I wasn't totally sure if I felt like it was working. Like I was a little like, ugh, I don't know if this movie's for me.
It's
Like,
hard to follow.
It's really hard to follow. They
Yeah.
jump in time like very sporadically. It's just mostly a lot of guys talking to each other about properties and
Yeah.
stuff. And I was like, I don't know
That's
about
what
this
we
movie.
do.
Or if I do know about this movie, I think that it could have been maybe just as good as a mini series, like 2 or 3, 5 episodes, maybe like something kind of like that.
Mhm.
And that
Because they're
might have
jumping around so much, it feels like things are being left out.
Yes, but then I think it all kind of pieces together when you hear the second perspective and then the third perspective for sure. And it's such a neat, to me, like that was such a fun way of storytelling where you see the same scenes unfolding, the same actors in the same scenes. But what's really interesting to me is the actors are really playing almost 3 different characters, even though
Yeah.
they're playing the same person. Because you're seeing that person from another person's perspective. So, like from Matt Damon's perspective, Marguerite is this like doting wife who just loves
Yeah.
him, massages his feet, thinks he's the world, thinks he's so great. They have a great life. They have a great, marriage. They're very happy together. And from her perspective, like he's a piece of shit, and he's a piece of shit, and she's a piece of shit. Everybody fucking
and like
sucks.
every other scene with him and her in it in the third act is just like Matt Damon is bad at sex.
Yeah.
Like that's the thesis of so many scenes.
So just I really liked the acting in it a lot, just to kind of see all 3 of these actors play just slightly different versions of these characters. That really makes you think too. I think like, with everybody you have in your life, everybody has a slightly different version of who you are in their head. So that
Right.
was just kind of neat to think about and to ponder on.
And speaking of like the whole different perspective thing,
Yeah.
I mentioned it's like Rashomon earlier. It's structured like Rashomon, but it's very different from Rashomon in Rashomon, when you hear the stories of what happened from the different people, they are wildly different stories of what
Mhm.
happened, like completely different events.
Yeah.
Here, it is the same events every single time, but it's the way the actors play them, and also where Ridley Scott chooses to place the camera. Like certain camera moves and certain like angles like emphasize different characters over others. And like there's this one key scene where like Adam Driver's character publicly kisses Matt Damon's wife. I'm forgetting the actress's name. Sorry.
Jodie Comer.
Jodie Comer. Adam Driver's character kisses Jodie Comer, and you see that happen 3 times, and the lines are all exactly the same, but the facial expressions of the actors are different every time, and they're different in very subtle ways.
Yeah.
And my dad said that he thought that the movie got kind of tedious because you're watching the same scenes happen over and over again. But I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah,
Like
I liked it
just
a lot.
getting really engrossed in the tiny like choices the actors were making with like body language and tone of voice and stuff like that.
Mhm. And
It's
I guess
also
just,
interesting because I heard Matt Damon was talking about this, ironically enough, on Mark Maron's podcast. He and Ben Affleck wrote the male scenes,
Yes.
and the female scenes were written by Nicole Hofstetter.
Yeah, well, it's the acts, right? So I
Yeah.
think
Acts,
Matt
yeah.
Damon wrote Act 1, Ben Affleck wrote Act 2, and Nicole Hofstetter wrote Act 3.
You gotta watch it at the very least just to see how fucking ridiculous Ben Affleck looks
Hell
in this
yeah.
movie.
Oh my god, he looks like a Backstreet Boy.
He looks so.
He has like
good.
this short bleached blonde hair, and then this like big
Awful good
bleached
teeth.
blonde soul patch. Like it's
So bad.
huge, and it's just like a circle.
Cool.
He keeps talking about the socks, and they're drinking Dunkin' Donuts, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
No, he does talk a lot about orgies. There are several orgies in this
I
movie.
mean, you
Yes.
got to do what you got to
That's
do.
cool.
Yeah. Good for him. And
Like Shrek
and
3?
also Matt
Like-
Damon.
just like
Matt
Shrek
Damon
3.
has like an awful haircut too, and it's just so
He
funny that
does,
it's like
man.
from this movie is set in the 1300s, and people are still doing this so fucking stupid haircut, this like mullet thing.
Oh man, you're alienating all of our mullet
Sorry, mullet
listeners.
people. Some people pull it off.
That's a lot. That's a large percentage of our listening group.
Some
is
people
mullet
pull it
wear.
off. Matt Damon does not pull it off.
Two things to talk about before we leave this movie. One is that this is a Fox Studios movie, aka it is a Disney-owned movie. And just to kind of continue the trend of like fuck Disney in this episode, they have completely buried this movie. Like I have seen like a bajillion trailers for Halloween Kills over the past month. I have seen 0 trailers for The Last Duel. I've seen the poster. I have not seen a single trailer for this movie, whether it's like before YouTube videos or while I'm like watching something on Hulu or at the movie theater. They just like quietly dropped it. And I'm assuming they were sitting on it for a little while too. And it's just like another example of like, you know, The Empty Man last year. I don't think this movie is like quite on the caliber of The Empty Man.
I like it better than Empty Man.
I like The Empty Man more. But anyways, like there are certain like movies for adults like this that Disney just doesn't know what to do with. And so they decide to just like dump them like in a time when like they're obviously going to get overshadowed by something else. In this case, like Halloween Kills or whatever else came out this week. Oh, what was the big superhero thing that came out recently? I feel like there was
whoa. Shang-Chi?
I guess that was pretty recent. Anyways, like it sucks that this movie got like no buzz whatsoever when it's pretty interesting and really well made. Like another thing that is cool about it in terms of the craft, like it opens with the duel and then it's like record scratch. I bet you're wondering how I got in this situation. And then we go back and see the 3 versions, but then it ends with the duel again. And the first time you see the duel, you're like, oh, okay, it's a historical movie. People are hitting each other. It's fine.
Yeah.
But then when the duel comes back around, you're like, I am so interested in this.
Yeah, duel. I was so stressed out.
And Ridley Scott shoots the fucking shit out of this duel. Oh. Like it's one of the best action scenes I've seen in a long time. And it goes on for a really long time too. It's like 20 minutes. I don't know if it's 20 minutes. Maybe I'm exaggerating. 10, 15 minutes.
It's pretty,
and it's such a good fight scene. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So like, I don't know. This movie's like surprisingly well made. I
mean, it's Ridley Scott movie. It should be well made,
right?
You know?
And the other thing that I was going to bring up is that like I have seen a common criticism of this movie, which is people saying it's a bunch of dudes patting themselves on the back for getting the basics of feminism right, and I just don't know, man. Like, what is the difference between a movie that is like genuinely sending a feminist message and a movie that's like faking a feminist message for clout? Because I think that it's very hard to tell the difference, you know, like I think the difference really is that it's a male director, you know, like people see, oh, this is a movie about feminism. It's like obviously like a Me Too movie and it has a guy attached to it. He's just trying to get brownie points for being a dude who's woke about women. But like Ridley Scott's first movie is like a rape allegory. Alien is absolutely about the fear of violation, and it's like maybe the best movie of all time, you know. So like I don't necessarily see Ridley Scott as just like trying to score woke brownie points with this. I mean, like, I think it's just really well done.
I found it. I mean, I could definitely see like if that's something that you've experienced, like sexual violence experience, you probably shouldn't watch this movie because it does have
or duels.
The same scene is portrayed.
You lost your father
twice.
in a duel.
I lost my father in a duel, and this is traumatizing for me.
The same scene is portrayed twice, and it's very upsetting to see, and especially the second time around, it's very upsetting.
And protracted too. It's pretty long.
Yeah, it's long. It's very unsettling. So if that's like, you know, I could understand a lot of people not wanting to see it for that. So that's hard, but I guess I just found it like really just. Oh gosh, I don't know. I just found it really powerful because just seeing her when, you know, you realize that she coming out about all of this, she has nothing to lose. She has everything to lose and nothing to gain really, because the questions they ask her just really feels like questions women are still experiencing today. Just so humiliating, so put on blast. When this is nothing that she ever wanted, nothing that she did to, you know, not that anybody does anything to deserve sexual violence, but just so humiliating and so much only for her to lose and nothing for her to gain really out of any of this. But it was powerful, I guess, to see like, so many people in the movie telling her like, why are you speaking out about this? You shouldn't have said anything because this is just not going to go well for you. And we went through this too, and we didn't say anything, and look how we turned out. We're so happy. But just, I guess I found that really powerful, like people like that who can just stir history for the better, even though it's so scary and so, I don't know.
And also people who are not like, hopefully your mom doesn't listen to this. People who are not that good at like reading movies are getting it. Like your mom went to see this movie and she was like, and she's also a fucking conservative too. Yeah. She was like, this is why we need the Me Too movement.
Yeah, I was like,
wow,
yeah, yes, Mom,
you did it.
And there's a scene where like every title card says like the truth according to and then when
this is corny though.
No, I liked it. So it gets to her part and it says the truth according to Marguerite, and then like it takes off the according to Marguerite part and it just puts the truth. And I was like, yeah.
I thought,
I thought it was
okay.
I like whatever. I'll take it. Thanks, Ridley. I'll take it. I really liked it. I thought it was a very powerful movie.
I mean, I get the eye roll of that, but it could have been a movie where, I don't know, you have a gaggle of princesses, and then those gaggle of princesses decide that they want to like fight for themselves,
and then
the
immigrant song
plays.
Ooh,
That's
a deep cut.
They didn't do that
for people who haven't watched. It felt like part 2 movie.
It felt like a big like, yeah, believe women, bitch, and then it goes into her section.
Yeah,
I liked it. I mean,
I thought the way to make it not corny would have been to just call that chapter "The Truth."
Let's hear her name. Let's see it. I don't know.
I mean, it's the fading away of the name that was like, man, mind blown. Like that's what did it for me.
I liked it. It may be my favorite movie of the year. I don't know. I need to look at my other movies.
It's very good.
Well, that the Last Duel, it's in theaters probably for maybe one more week.
It will be out of theaters in 15 minutes. You go watch now.
Well, speaking of looks at history, Seth, your movie is also a look at history.
It is. It's got this guy in it. I got this blanket.
It's an auditory medium.
So. No one can see it though. No one can see it. I have a blanket that has the Frankenstein monster on it. I've been on the Frankenstein kick. I just, it's that time of year. I'm rolling in it. I'm rolling in the leaves. I'm ready for it. And it all got kicked off. I had seen Bride of Frankenstein, and I took it for granted. Boy, I was a fool. This time around, Bride of Frankenstein just blew my mind. That's one of my favorites of that era, and it's so much more wacky than the original. The original is like no music, like it's like No Country for Old Men or something. And it's just like so stark.
No Country for Old Music.
No Country for Old Frankenstein. And but Bride of Frankenstein is totally wacky. James Whale was a notorious. The director of the movie was a notoriously
gay man.
Out as you could be in Hollywood.
I did not know that about James Whale.
Of the original Frankenstein?
Yeah.
There's a whole movie about how he's gay.
Yeah.
What's the movie?
What is it?
Ian McKellen plays him. I don't know what the movie is.
Someone
tell us, but
hold on. James Whale biopic movie. It has Ian McKellen and Brendan Fraser.
Fellowship of the Ring.
Gods and Monsters.
Oh, okay.
Gods and Monsters.
That's a great title.
Seth, are you talking about Frankenstein versus the Wolfman in 3D from 2008?
Well, I'll get there.
Okay.
No, I'm not talking about 3D now.
Please trust the process.
we talked about every Muppet we have ever watched. So Seth is allowed to talk about.
I apologize. I cede my time.
Continue.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, James Whale was pretty out for like a 1930s director.
For him.
And his Bride of Frankenstein is like totally this like queer coded, but like in your face, like gayness is basically
Queer, but in a straight way.
Yeah, I guess. But like it's very much like Frankenstein. The Dr. Frankenstein is like, I'm putting away these childish evil things, and I'm just gonna get married to a woman, and I'm not gonna look back. And then this like William S. Burroughs looking like clearly gay like mad scientist swoops in and tries to like seduce him into becoming a mad scientist again / being gay again.
Don't you ever want to go ape shit?
Come on. Don't you want to play God again and be gay? Anyways, that one was really amazing. So I was like, I needed more. So I watched Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, which is definitely a big fall from grace. But not for James Whale. This was Roy William Neill. But you know, that's a tough gig to follow.
Sure.
Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman is pretty fun though. It is like, to my knowledge, the first real big. It's before like King Kong vs. Godzilla. It's the first like big like two monsters going up against each other. Can't believe it.
Going at it, yeah.
Yeah, and but the whole thing is, this is like, if anyone's ever seen the movie Ed Wood, there's that like big scene where Bela Lugosi talks about how much he resented the fact that he hated Boris Karloff because he like wound up saying no to playing Frankenstein, and he was like super pissed because Frankenstein became like a super like big name, and he could have like made all these sequels and made all this money, but he was like, they won't see my face, you know. But then he like, that was like his big grudge. They didn't play Frankenstein. Turns out he did play Frankenstein, but in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman.
Is it Meets the Wolfman or Versus the Wolfman?
See, so Zach just posted the list of movies for the episode, and he put Frankenstein versus the Wolfman in 3D originally, which is why I asked the question.
Well, the title card on here says Versus the Wolfman.
True.
So.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm looking on.
Zach's like,
he fixed it.
Oh, okay.
We're working fast over here.
I'm looking on Letterboxd, which is that's the official. So that's end all be all. So
I thought there was animosity. I didn't think they were meeting each other like it was a fucking.
Do they go on a date?
They're friends. No, they're not friends. No, it doesn't end well. And yeah, Bela Lugosi of Dracula fame plays Frankenstein, and he does a terrible job. And he's the reason like everybody, like when they mimic Frankenstein, they do this, when they walk around. That's his version of it. And I was just like, this looks so bad. Why is he doing that? And he's like bumping into things and stuff. And it turns out that like they cut a scene that explained that Frankenstein in this movie is blind. And that's why he's like walking around like this. But they never.
When Seth says like this, by the way, people listening and not watching, he means like sticking your hands right in front of yourself, like
the classic, like like how your mom would mimic like Frankenstein. If your mom were to, I don't know why your mom would be mimicking Frankenstein, but like Boris Karloff doesn't really do that. He just comes in and he's like waddling around like a creepy guy. But Bela Lugosi, that's how Bela Lugosi did it. But they had no explanation because they cut it out. Poor guy.
For a person who's seen all the Frankensteins, you have opinions on the Frankensteins. You love the Frankensteins.
I haven't seen all the Frankensteins.
If you were going to recommend,
it's not a plural. It's not Frankensteins. They're not like a
Frankenstein
family. It's Frankenstein.
Zachary.
It's Frankenstein's down the street. Bill and Jill and
all the Frankenstein. For
Jamie.
somebody who's seen all the Frankenstein films, if you
the Frankensteins.
Okay, so for somebody who has seen all the Frankenstein movies, if you were going to try to pitch one for somebody to start with or to watch it, to get them sold, what would be the one that you would pitch? Would it be Bride of?
Wait, haven't you already seen Bride of Frankenstein with me?
I'm asking him for all the listeners everywhere around the world. If you were to say
Frankenstein is like the most interesting, one of the weirdest like horror movies there is. But it's also not super like Frankenstein centric. It's more like this weird, like whimsical story of a man struggling with his need to be a mad scientist.
Sure.
But also the original is dope as hell and creepy.
It really is good. We did an episode about it. The like climactic sequence where like the mob is chasing the Frankenstein monster is incredible.
Oh, it's wonderful. And Wolfman actually starts right after that one. It seems to ignore the Bride of Frankenstein continuity, as they do with a lot of movies these days. Halloween Kills, and the Wolfman's in it, and he's like he just wants to die. That's like his whole thing. He keeps on getting brought back to life. Like grave robbers open up his grave, and then there's a full moon, and then he has to live again. And he's like, I hate living. Why can't I die? And his whole thing is he's gonna find Dr. Frankenstein because Dr. Frankenstein has the secret to life, so he must have the secret to death. Whatever that, I don't know what kind of logic that is. Like, just blow yourself up. I don't know.
How hard can it be?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Suicide.
Piss off some villagers and they'll get their pitchforks. Like Shrek can do it. Why not you?
It didn't work. But it all ends in like a big old like wrestling match on the ground. And I won't reveal who wins, but I will say no one wins.
That's hot.
Violence doesn't solve anything, you know?
No. Yeah, no.
Yeah. And that's that one.
Well, Frankenstein.
Last Duel, it did solve that problem.
Violence does solve a lot of problems.
It do.
It solves a lot. It tells you who raped your wife or who's the winner between the Frankenstein and Wolfman.
Yeah.
And finds peace in the Middle East. It's
and you know
violence.
What? Also, it will say far, far away, as we'll find out.
We'll find out, yeah.
Spoiler alert, yeah.
Spoiler alert. Speaking of that, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll be back talking about Shrek the Third of 2007 after this.
Hell yeah.
I better turn on my lava lamp.
Jessy Alva.
What'd you say?
Said master podcaster Jessy Alva with that segue.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm gonna need beer for
Shrek 3.
I'm gonna need some crack.
Some crack.
That's a good line, Seth.
I'm gonna at least need to turn onto this lava lamp.
Whoa, your camera like blipped for a second. So like for a second you were standing over by the lava lamp, and then it blipped, and then all of a sudden you were back at your table, and I was like,
man,
like a horror movie.
Unfriended shit.
It's pretty fucked up.
Creepy. I'm gonna get some water.
Oh. Want some more?
Cinematary is brought to you by Wicked Weeds Pernicious. Pernicious. It's wicked.
That's it.
And by this terrible beer pour. Why is this so terrible?
Why is it like this? The live viewers missed my really great Cinematary is brought to you by Ranch Water earlier.
Cinematary is brought to you by Ranch Water. Ranch Water.
From the Lone River.
From the Lone River.
Texas.
The Lone River of Texas. Ranch Water. Because you gotta drink something.
Andrew could do a wonderful voice, like dramatic reading of the Ranch Water story, but he probably won't do it. He's got this really great old man voice when he wants to.
Sometimes.
Oh yeah, me and Seth said, "Old man, old man."
Old man, old man.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a man.
Sometimes a man just meets another man in the tent, and they just get a little touchy, and things happen. Da-da-dun-dun. Have you ever seen that TikTok trend where they do like the da da dun down da da dun down, and then it's like
No.
sometimes two men just go into a tent and things go crazy.
What in the world? Please send that in the chat. So we can
Oh
see
man,
it.
I had to- I
that
had to
reminds
find
me. Like a couple years ago at New Year's, my friend got like hit on by this guy, and they were alone on this couch, and his line, you know, he was like touching his knee, and Robin was like, I don't, and he's like, what's wrong? It's just two men and a penis.
Just one.
just the one.
Just one.
Two men with a penis between
And
them.
a penis. There's
Like,
like
where's
a
the
large penis between them.
Oh, wow.
I just thought that was so strange.
Oh,
Aren't there?
That's a strange thing to say. Yeah.
I know. Both penises should be involved if we're going to
No.
do this.
I mean, I guess we shouldn't assume that both men have a penis, but
They don't have to, I guess, but
Yeah.
you know.
And I mean, the penis could have a name. His name's Ethan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really selling poor Ethan short here.
Yeah. I mean,
just wants to
like
hang
for fuck's sake, he has a name.
Ethan the penis.
Go and by his name.
call me by your name.
Ethan.
Call me by your name, Ethan. My name's Ethan. I was thinking about that the other day about how, you know, they were supposed to have a Call Me By Your Name sequel, but now they can't because Armie Hammer's a cannibal.
Oh, did they cancel it?
I mean, they can. He's a cannibal.
Is he a
I don't
cannibal?
know. I don't know how seriously I take that. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna get canceled when people watch this YouTube video, but like, I don't like. That seems like he was being like just like a fucking weirdo. Like
He just seems like a weirdo.
he's like
I
you
don't
know the scene in Punch Drunk Love where Adam Sandler and Emily Watson are like, "I love you so much, I'm gonna scoop your eyeballs out." Like
Mhm.
that feels like what Armie Hammer's texts were to me.
He's a trust fund kid. I don't feel
There
bad for him.
ain't no way Armie Hammer has eaten a woman.
He said he
woman
ate
flat.
a woman?
Well,
Not-
he
not
like
full
was
stop.
flirting in a way where he was like, "Oh, I just want to bite into
Sure.
your flesh."
But it was so goofy because he texted like such like a Tinder dude. He's like, I just want to like eat you up, lol. Isn't that weird?
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Catch me in Nile on the river.
It's not a good move, but okay.
Yeah. I mean, not for, no, thank you.
Also, if he finds somebody to eat, that's perfectly fine with me.
No, thanks, Army. But
Between two consenting adults.
Yeah, we
Good,
should be
everyone.
able to eat
And
each other.
their penis, Ethan.
Yeah.
they're one.
Their one penis.
If I want to be eaten, I should be able to find somebody that will eat me. I think.
Call up Army.
There's an
I'm
app for
sure he'd
that.
be down.
Yeah.
Mr. Hammer.
Da-da-dum-dum, when two men enter a tent. One of them just gets eaten.
Please.
And not in the way you're thinking.
Zach,
This is some good Patreon content. I hope people
They should be so lucky.
Yeah. If only
man,
people
it makes
were
me
watching.
think of that tweet I saw. I don't know when I saw it, but something about how people like don't appreciate Jake Gyllenhaal enough when he was, you know, acting his ass off in Brokeback Mountain, taking it bussy full of beans. Just can't handle it.
That's good delivery.
This vaguely reminded me of this. Zach, did you see Lydia Ogwang's tweet today where she said like she felt as though violence had been enacted upon her when she saw someone refer to Timothy Chalamet as T'Challa?
What?
How is that anything to do with?
I mean, his first name starts with T, and his second name starts with Chala.
T'Challa.
T'Challa.
Are you talking about the boy?
It sounds like I don't know.
All right.
Wow. Here we go.
All right.
I don't know what that was. I don't know. We might get flagged. Be careful.
Fucking girl boss dumbasses.
The third.
The third.
Bunch of
Girl
fucking
boss
girl boss
dumb-
dumbasses. The third. All right, here we go. That's for the Patreon crowd. Those are my thoughts on the feminism of Shrek the Third. Bunch of girl
Oh, I
boss
have thoughts,
dumbass.
yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. And we're back with part 2 of episode 374 of Cinematary. In this part, we will be subjecting ourselves to 2007's Shrek the Third.
The third.
We
Directed
already have,
by-
already have,
ourselves.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
I wish I
directed
could
by.
go back.
It's too late for us. It's not too late for you.
It's not too late for you. Listen to
Turn
us.
back.
We'll listen to this episode so we get the listens and then turn around. Turn back.
Beware!
So Shrek the Third, it was directed by Chris Miller from a script by Miller, Jeffrey Price, Peter S. Seaman, and which is hilarious, and Aaron Warner. The
Written
film
by
stars.
Seaman.
The film stars the same people that we've talked about in the past 2 movies, along with Justin Timberlake and Eric Idle.
I
didn't want to
like a
write
little
out.
boy.
By the
I wanna
way,
write out
who
the
is
whole-
Eric Idle?
He's Merlin.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, what a terrible character for what a great actor.
Well, yeah, he just doesn't really do much with it.
Yeah.
When King Harold suddenly croaks, Shrek learns he will have to rule the land of far, far away.
It's
unless he
hardly
can
sudden.
find
That's the whole
a
thing.
suitable heir to the throne. The most promising candidate is Princess Fiona's cousin Artie, a teenage slacker in the medieval high school. Shrek and his trusted companions,
Is he a slacker?
Donkey and
Yeah,
Puss
He's
in Boots,
he's a nerd. He's a bullied nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, they set out to bring him, but they find that their mission is a bigger challenge than they expected.
Mm.
So I just found a bunch of random stuff about this movie because it was stupid. Following the success of Shrek 2, a third and a fourth Shrek movie, along with plans for a 5th and final film, were announced in May 2004 by Jeffrey Katzenberg, who said that, quote, Shrek 3 and 4 are going to reveal other unanswered questions. And finally, in the last chapter, we will understand how Shrek came to be in that swamp when we meet him in the first movie.
Can we pause right there before we continue with the fact sheet? I already said this off mic once, but A, this feels like a real how did Han Solo get his jacket thing. And B, we obviously don't need to know the answer to that question because like the first Shrek is playing with fairy tale tropes. And the trope is ogres live in swamps. And explaining it any more than that would be betraying the concept. Like it's just a trope because it's a trope.
My swamp.
Listen,
Yeah.
that's what the people are wanting. All right,
My
this is second random fact. This is a quote from Aaron Warner, who's one of the screenplay writers. He's talking about the music. He says it's really important to us to find music that matches the integrity of the first 2 films. It's very eclectic, very wide-reaching. We have a lot of greater, older songs. We also have new artists who created original songs, and then we have new artists covering old songs. What we always tell bands is that we want songs to represent the voice of Shrek. That means they've got to be a kind of rough, and the feeling needs to be real. We tend to shy away from stuff that's got a lot of production value to it.
And so the bands to do that is Eels, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that
There have been 3
means.
Eels tracks over the past 2 movies.
So this is a nice little fun fact controversy. In the beginning of the film, in Prince Charming's dinner theater, coconuts are revealed to be the source of the sound effect for the horse's hoofbeats.
Mm-hmm.
This same joke was used in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which also
Eric
starred John
Idle.
Cleese
And John
Eric
Cleese.
Idle. Idle walked out of the premiere and claimed to be considering suing the producers of Shrek for the unauthorized use of this gag.
Oh my god!
While
Well,
the
he should have done it.
Oh, that's
Why
so
didn't he
cool.
do
What
it?
a curmudgeon. That's
While
great.
the producers claim they were honoring the 2 actors by putting the part in. And then this is easily the most random controversy.
What does he want for coconuts, though? Like, how much money does he really need?
Can you copyright clacking coconuts together?
You can't. It's unfortunate, you know, John Cleese, rest in peace. That they're just that way now.
Wait, is John Cleese dead? I thought John was alive.
In a way, I mean, like he's dead.
You don't do that to me. Don't just...
No, but in a way,
He's like had some like shitheel political takes, right? That's
yeah. So he's dead.
Yeah.
He died. He's
Yeah.
died.
Oh
It
my.
sucks. It sucks. Rest in peace, John Cleese.
We miss you, buddy.
The conservative Illinois Review blog criticized the inclusion of Doris the Ugly Stepsister, accusing the writers of including the character to, quote, desensitize children and parents to transgender people.
I think it taught them to be really mean to trans people. Any chance the person is in the scene.
Yes, it is. It is explicitly transphobic.
Yes.
Every time it happens.
So, and also, did you know the ugly stepsister voiced by Larry King, who actually is dead?
Oh,
he's actually dead.
I didn't know that. That's great.
He's actually dead.
I like that. He
also
is
canceled for agreeing to play that part.
There you go. Well, he's dead, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we canceled him permanently.
He escaped.
This is what killed him, actually.
We got him. We got him.
So in 2007, The New Yorker said the plot material isn't as strong as in the first two movies. If anything, it feels a bit desperate, but the anti-Disney joke blunderbuss remains in good working order.
Oh my God, journalists and their words.
The New York Times in 2007 said Shrek the Third seems at once more energetic and more relaxed than its predecessors, less desperate to prove its cleverness and therefore to some extent smarter.
I think that's the problem.
And in 2007, Roger Ebert said it makes the mistake of thinking slapstick action is funny for its own sake. True. Characters zooming and bouncing around are easy to write because no creative invention is required to set them in motion. But so what?
Shooting jokes out of my joke musket. I'm gonna make all kinds of weapons in my journalism. Joke muskets and blunderbuss.
It's the New Yorker. They're paid to be assholes. So that's
the French Dispatch coming soon.
Exactly. All right. Well, we're gonna kick it off. Jess and Andrew, Shrek the Third. What did you make of this masterpiece?
Wow.
It's the third.
It's
Wait, can I start because I haven't been on a Shrek episode yet?
Yeah.
So here's my journey with the Shrek franchise, and I think I have shared this on a previous episode. We were thinking about doing Oct-ogre when we were first kind of percolating the idea. I watched Shrek in theaters with my mom when it came out. I was a little like
shout out to Cheryl.
Boy. Shout out to Cheryl. Love you. But
here's the pod.
When we left the theater, and my mom is a very chill person. Nothing bothers her. She was mad. She was really mad about Shrek because she thought it was totally inappropriate. And like I didn't get any of that. Like every one of the borderline inappropriate jokes went right over my head. I didn't even recognize that ass was a bad word at the time. It was just a sound that came out of Shrek's mouth at one point, you know? But like I hadn't seen it really since then. I mean, I guess it's one of those movies where like people buy the VHS and they watch it over and over. And it was probably like on in the background at a friend's house or something at several points during my life. But like my main experience with Shrek was like as a kid who didn't get it, watching it in the theater. And then going back, and I've taught a scene from it before because Michael suggested it when we were teaching fairy tales together. And I thought that was a really great scene. It was the highest room in the tallest tower scene from the first movie. And going back, I was really honestly impressed by it. It does have that kind of like ugly, uncanny valley feel to it that you guys talked about. But
everybody thinks it's ugly. I think it's beautiful.
I mean, I agree though that like with
the
Michael,
eyes.
that the uncanny valley feel that movie has kind of like adds to its charm. And I also agree with Michael that like it's a really sharp really sharp satire on the Disney company in a way that like why aren't there more movies like taking pot shots at the Disney company, right?
Yeah,
Theme of this episode is fuck Disney, right?
I think it's because the Disney company keeps buying those companies,
buying the companies before they can do that. That's right. Yeah. And then also like when I watched Shrek 2, which I think I had maybe seen snippets of when I was a kid. I was impressed by that even more. I don't know if I would necessarily say it's a better movie. It's probably a more like objectively good narrative than Shrek 1, But Shrek 1 has like this weird like occult sorcery around it, where like it's found a way to implant itself in the brain of like an entire generation of people. And like I gotta like just award it something for that. Like you really
noble
dug
piece of
deep into people's psyche, and I, in a way that I don't fully understand, but I gotta hand it to you, right? Shrek 2 doesn't
Mouth.
quite do that.
Yes.
Smash Mouth is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Shrek 2, I feel like is just a good movie. Like it's like a legitimately good, chill, like family movie.
It's a banger.
It's a banger. And like it's got really good ideas. Like I loved y'all's exploration of like this film's handling of like the intersection between politics and capitalism and stuff. Like it's like a genuinely smart movie and about different things. You know, the first movie is mostly like a playing around with fairy tale tropes and playing around with like the industry that is capitalized on fairy tale tropes, i.e. Disney. And the second one is like doing its own thing. It's like more about family dynamics and more about like societal power dynamics and stuff like that. And then Shrek 3 just sucks. Like it just completely sucks on every single level. I feel like the difference between Shrek 2 and Shrek 3 is stark and profound, in that like it shows that like sequels are not inherently good or bad in concept, right? You can make a sequel to a wildly successful movie and treat it with love and care and inspiration and make it a good movie. Or you can make a movie because the first one did well and you just have to have these characters on screen for 90 minutes. And it's just bullshit. Like it's just complete bullshit from beginning to end. I was reminded more than anything else of if anybody's familiar with like weird kids YouTube, you know, like all these algorithmically created videos of like CGI Spider-Man and Elsa and Joker. Like,
that's my favorite thing.
Doing ridiculous stuff.
Oh, man.
And like they're nonsensical and the titles are nonsensical because they're just like algorithm gaming machines that are like meant to have like 4-year-olds click on them when they're using like their parents' iPad on YouTube.
I've stayed up late scratching my head over those.
That's what Shrek 3 feels like to me. It's like,
God.
can we just put these characters on screen and have them say something to each other? Like, it's never clever. It's never funny. It never serves the story or any sort of like actual like sincere thematic aims. It's just like honestly offensive. Like there's a YouTube or this Letterboxd review where somebody said like, in the middle of this movie, I forgot what it felt like to watch a good movie.
Oh my God.
And I felt like that a little bit too. Like I felt like I was trapped in like a mind prison with this movie. It's like what is happening? Who cares? Why is this so aggressively unfunny and ugly?
I kept trying to like explain the plot to Andrew. He's like, "What is happening?"
I
right now?
hate this so much.
Oh, God.
Anyways, that's my take on Shrek the Third. What do you guys think?
I'm really fascinated by thinking about Mike Myers and Cameron Diaz getting the script for this movie, sitting there and doing like read through. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Of the movie, just sitting there and reading through it and thinking to themselves, "Yeah, this is good."
They didn't think that.
They didn't think that. They got
$10 million.
If you paid me $10 million, I would be like, "This is a masterpiece. Let's do it."
I
got paid to read
I was watching this movie and I was like, "Huh, I wonder why they made this. Like, why did they? This is terrible. This is like there's like almost nothing good about it." I will say yeah, sort of like Muppets Haunted Mansion or I guess any sequel, you're sort of thinking like, do the people who made this have any sense of like who these people really are?
Do the people who made this have brains? This is my question.
Like,
Are you talking about Peter S. Seaman?
He's got a brain.
Yeah, he's got a brain.
Seaman.
Peter Seaman.
Wow.
And yeah, it's
I'm shocked, by the way, that Jessy and Zach gave this movie 2 stars on
I
Letterboxd.
think I gave it a star and a half.
2 stars is a lot of stars for this movie. Like, point to where those stars come from.
I did
one
really
of the stars
enjoy...
came from the scene when the king dies. I kind of like that part.
Oh my God!
It's not bad.
Like
That
when
one's
he shot,
not bad.
like when he shot when like the flies there, and he's like, "But."
I think he
Maybe.
needed to do it like 2 more times.
I
Yeah, it
did
was
really
kinda
enjoy
funny.
the. I did
The
really
cloak.
enjoy. There's 2 scenes I thought were really fun. Just one when Donkey and Puss like initially get body swapped. I don't know. I was just kind of in a mind space when I was watching that, where that was like very hilarious to me.
It
Just,
wasn't,
like,
though.
seeing the 2 of them like fucking try.
See, that's where you're wrong.
And then there's also the scene, and I don't remember it really that well, but sometimes, and it wasn't always, but sometimes I did kind of like the funny dynamic that was going on with the little weird group of like Shrek and Donkey and Puss and Arthur. Like the scene where
You had me until and Arthur. Arthur is an awful character.
he's not that good. He's not that good. But there
Oh,
is
yeah.
the scene where they almost get caught by like some guards, but then Shrek pretends he's like a bratty actor, and everybody kind of plays along with it. And I thought that dynamic was actually pretty funny. But for the most part, why did we make this movie? Like, it's a movie about being stressed about rearing kids.
It's Jurassic Park.
And
It's
it's
Sam Neill in
is it?
Jurassic Park. Like at the beginning of the movie, he
Yeah.
makes a big show about the fact that he doesn't want kids, and then he's put in a position where he has to take care of a kid for a extended period of time. And at the end, he's like, "Oh man, I actually think I would be a good father."
So
And like, it's
now that
done
there
with
were dinosaurs, now I want kids.
right.
it's like for the kids out there, I guess they think kids don't actually care what they watch. We're gonna put these characters that they are aware of in front of their face, just like the weird YouTube videos.
Yeah.
The kids
Yeah.
will like this. But for the parents who are watching the kids, won't they really enjoy a nice, heartfelt movie about how stressful it is to rear children? And to that, I would say these parents at this point in their life already have the children. So I don't really know what that's going to do for them.
They could just watch Shrek 2 again. Just watch Shrek 2 again. This was like all the same plugins from that. They just every single thing was a Pixar plugin or a Shrek
Yeah.
plugin.
When
Like,
it opens with
I
Prince
couldn't-
Charming riding to the castle, like I know it's supposed to be a riff
This
because like
again.
it zooms out and it's like him in front of like a rolling scene thing. I'm like, really? We're really starting here? Like, why is Prince Charming even in this movie? We should be treading new ground,
No.
but we're not.
He's still
Yeah,
mad.
he's the bad guy again. That's wild.
Phew.
And also, like, there's this whole thing about like who takes the throne. And like there's a conversation later on between Fiona and some of the other princesses where one of them is like, you know what, I don't even care who takes the throne. Like, why does it matter? And Fiona's like, I care who takes the throne. And I'm like, why? Why do you care, Fiona, who takes the throne?
why didn't
You
they
want to
just-
go back to your swamp. Who cares about? I mean, not that I'm saying that like people should not care who's in charge of their country or whatever, but like we're talking about monarchy here. There's not a way to do this right. Like it just sucks regardless.
I saw that they accidentally communicated that she does care, and it really does feel like at the end she is like, well, Shrek, you would have been a good king too. And then, but okay, you didn't want to. And it just like, to me, it does feel like she's like weirdly disappointed or something, or like the whole movie she's just been like, well, Shrek's gonna be king maybe. I hope for, oh, okay, he's not. All right, we'll go to the swamp.
I don't know why they didn't just let Prince Charming have it, honestly. Like, they didn't want it. He did. He's hot. Like, just who cares?
Why is this not a movie about Shrek and Fiona raising a kid in the swamp? Like, first scene of the movie
Shrek 4.
could be them coming back to the swamp. And then, like, instead of having Shrek do this, like, soul journey where he finds out whether or not he wants to be a father, I just want to see him attempt to be a father. Because at the end, we get, like, a montage of him actually being a father. And it's basically like, yeah, parenting is all sunshine and rainbows. And I know that parents sitting in the theater watching Shrek fucking 3 are like, no, it isn't. Like, why am I watching Shrek 3?
Clearly not. I'm having to watch this movie.
Yes.
That's the point, though. It's like, look, parenting is a rainbow, and then the parents go, no, it's not. I'm in Shrek the Third. It's
Exactly.
awful.
My
So-
point.
That's the lesson.
I'm so fascinated by thinking about like what's going to be the god awful thing that my kids get obsessed with when I have kids someday. Like, what is going to be the obnoxious thing that they never shut the fuck up about, or what kind of movies am I going to be subjected to watch on repeat?
Shrek the 10.
Shrek 10.
I think you can just take home and feel good about the fact that you won't have to worry about that because climate change will take the world and we'll all
that'll be
die.
that. That's easy. It'll take
when I watch Shrek 3, climate change doesn't sound that bad.
It sounds pretty good, actually.
Sometimes I really hard to think, have I watched all the good movies there are to see? How many more good movies are they possibly going to make?
So as Letterboxd stated a number of times, would we like to discuss how Shrek the Third created feminism?
Okay, yeah. So I have thoughts.
Let's hear Seth, because I feel like we haven't got to hear Seth in a minute. Seth, I want to hear all about what you think about Shrek and feminism.
Well, it clearly invented feminism.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I mean, it predates all other feminism movies. This being the first.
And Shrek the Third, feminism the first.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's like blatantly transphobic. It's blatantly like, I don't know. It like, I don't see how anyone sees that. It like Shrek is very much about like reinforcing like. It feels like gender roles are very reinforced in it. Like, especially in this story of like, oh, he's a man and he's got to go off and he's got to think about, and Fiona is like really putting up with it. Like he's got to go off and think about being a dad for a while and he doesn't want
the first movie kind of pushes back on gender roles in the way that it kind of like, Jessica talked about this on the Shrek 1 episode.
First one, yeah.
The way that it celebrates women being like quote unquote gross. In a way that every other princess movie would never dream of, right? But we're really far away from that at this. We're far away.
Far away. I think even 2 kind of drops the ball with it as far as that kind of stuff goes. Like that through line of like, if anything, I figured Shrek would have had more of a change by now. That was my real frustration the whole time. He's still the same guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he does. It's about him changing.
But he like every single movie has been about him changing. Yet he's still the same ogre that I hate. I do not like him. I don't like him. Really I'm gonna come out and say it. He is repugnant. He's not an interesting character. All the other characters are so much more interesting and fun. And because he has no arc, even though he apparently has arcs, and apparently that's the reason we have the movies themselves. And this one is yet another one where it's just like he's still the same guy. I figured like he would at least be like more like loving or kind in his approach or more mature in his approach.
He's a little bit. There's the he and Fiona are kind of off doing their own thing for most of the movie. It's parallel plotting. And then when he like busts through the wall and sees Fiona, she asks him, "Are you okay?" Something. He's like, "I'm better now that you're here." And which is like that's my Shrek impression. and Jessy was like, "Oh, it's so sweet." Like that's not something you would hear.
Did I say that? I don't remember saying that. You can't quote me on that.
You made a noise.
Yeah, I guess. But like by the first one, we know that he like loves Fiona and will do things for Fiona. Outside of that, I figure like he's at least like got some sort of one of his layers should show. One of these apparent
one of these supposed layers. Now,
my favorite characters are the blind mice. I love them so much.
Are they even in this one?
Just briefly, it's really a disappointment.
Yeah. I mean, so to go back to Shrek 3 invented feminism. Like the thing that people are jokingly pointing to here is a scene that reminds me, and I'm explaining this like in great detail because I'm assuming / hoping people listening to this have not actually watched Shrek 3. Don't watch Shrek 3, okay? But there's a
Shrek
scene,
the Third.
I liked it.
Fiona, are you kidding? Fiona, for a good chunk of this movie, is like hanging out with all these princesses that she hates in like this weird ragtag D&D group, right? And there's a scene where a fight breaks out, and I don't even fully remember the context of the fight because this movie is nonsense. But like they all like snap into it's the okay, ladies, let's get in formation moment. It reminds me of everybody. There was like this whole media cycle about the Avengers exclusively feminist moment, where like all of the female MCU stars were on screen at the same time. It was in like Avengers Endgame or Age of Ultron or something. It's not Age of Ultron. It was either Infinity War or Endgame.
It was in the Endgame one.
Endgame. Okay. And like really all it is just like a bunch of female superheroes striking a pose for a second and then going off and like joining the rest of the troop.
And it changed the world.
It changed the world. That's feminism, right? But like that on its own is like just crass and pandering, and I hate it. What I hate even more is that it. Oh God, I hate it in so many ways. What I hate even more is that it uses "Immigrant Song" by Led Zeppelin, which like I don't have any particular attachment to "Immigrant Song." It's a good song. But here's the thing about "Immigrant Song." When I think about movies that use "Immigrant Song," I think about The School of Rock, where Jack Black is like lip syncing it to his van full of students, right? And like there's this special feature in the School of Rock Blu-ray where Jack Black talks about how Led Zeppelin absolutely refused to let them use the song because they don't license their music out. And like they did this whole stunt where like when they were shooting the like final Battle of the Band sequence, they got the entire like crowd of extras to like beg Robert Plant to the camera, please let us use "Immigrant Song. It's going to make the movie." And like Robert Plant saw that video and he was like, okay, I'll let you use "Immigrant Song."
Oh, I thought about this exact same thing.
And like this in fucking Shrek 3, like it's in Shrek 3 and like one of the worst moments of Shrek 3. And then they don't even have the balls to like stick with it and make a montage out of "Immigrant Song." They switched to Barracuda like 10 seconds into it.
Can I say also
fuck?
It's Barracuda sung by Fergie.
Oh God!
I was wondering who was
it
saying
in a
it.
new way now.
I knew Barracuda was coming. I could smell it. I could just smell it.
Because let me tell you,
Well,
you know what you
fishy.
wanted was "Immigrant Song" leading into Barracuda sung by Fergie.
Yeah, that's also a thing. Yeah, that's always a thing that I hate in movies is when they just have like 2 seconds of a popular song and then like a new scene starts and they have another 2 seconds of a popular song.
The Fear Street movies.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a real Fear Street move.
Yeah.
Or like fucking Vanilla Sky, just like every 3 seconds, like Radiohead, fucking Metallica,
Yeah.
all of them. Everything is in this movie. Every emotional shift needs a pop song.
Yes.
Which that's the whole thing with Shrek. They're just like really playing that hand because everybody had such a good time with "I'm a Believer" and all that. So they just are like really overplaying that hand. And I can't believe they did it to me again. Like, yet again with these animated, like they did the Pixar thing, a Disney thing, whatever you want to call it, where it's just like in the middle, they're literally they're shipwrecked and everything, and they've got to do the thing like, "You lied to me. I was just doing this, and you're not my friend." They have this thing exactly 30 minutes into the movie, and I hate it. I hate it so much.
What, you hate that like plot device, or
Yeah, it's like the Woody and Buzz thing, and it's in every single one of these.
Yeah.
And they just like
You
load it in
betrayed
here.
me. Oh, but we need each other, so then we're gonna patch. Like they always. It's like we know you're gonna patch it up. So why don't we just skip this bullshit?
I know.
I really liked the little like the guy who worked on the boat with them like when they were traveling on the sea.
You really latched onto this tiny character.
voiced by Seth Rogen.
No way.
Really?
Wow.
And it was immaculate. Like he only had like 3 lines, but they were all just.
I mean, the lines themselves weren't funny. It was the over-the-top pirate voice.
The delivery was fantastic.
My favorite part of the movie was when they were in the high school and the high school band played All Star.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
I didn't. Wow, Zach's got ears on him. Maybe
because if there's one thing these movies are known for, it's subtlety.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, wow.
Okay, Zach, answer for your crimes. How is this movie worth 2 stars?
Oh, I don't know. All stars are arbitrary. I just put stars on it. I don't know. I don't care really. It is a stupid fucking movie.
I will say we haven't got to this comparison yet. So we've done an episode on
Yes.
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
And
That's
me
it.
and Andrew
Wow.
were trying to decide which one is worse. Here, the one on the
I
plus
think it's
side.
this.
On the plus side, I hate Elton John music. I don't think I've ever heard an Elton John song that I like. I'm very sorry. I'm a shitty queer, but I
That's
can't
so
stand Elton John
hardcore.
music.
There are some good.
Oh.
Elton
No, there's
John
not.
songs.
And so
You're a wild
watching a whole
dude.
movie. Watching.
No.
Let me make my point. I'm so sorry. Watching a whole movie that's all ugly gnomes singing Elton John music was awful. But was this better? I mean, to be fair, this had an absence of that. So that
I wasn't being set on fire while watching.
Yeah.
it.
so that's good. And I like these characters more than shitty gnomes. I would say that Romeo and Juliet has a better written story.
Yeah.
However,
'Cause
that
it's
story is just
Shakespeare.
Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
they're just ripping off Shakespeare.
So I truly don't know which one's better, but it does the caliber of film is on par with Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Which
Which is heartbreaking.
so that's what this podcast is now. It's
Yeah.
lowest tier, like widely released
Right.
animated movies.
Like halfway through, I thought to myself, man, there's a Cinematary episode dedicated to this shit.
Yeah.
Like, we might as well do an episode on like the new like animated Addams Family 2 movie. You know, like this is the level of film we're talking about now.
Well, I haven't seen Romeo and Juliet, but I can only imagine
Don't.
I would like that more, just for the sake of it being like it's the first one, right?
Yeah.
That's like really this one's biggest problem is that it just like takes old stuff and throws it at me, and I have to. It's like boring. That's really the worst part about it. It's
I
boring
kept
as hell.
checking how much time I had left. Like the first time I checked, I only was like 20 minutes in, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh god.
Like there's nothing new coming at you, even if it was like a shitty new thing.
Yeah. Well, there is a shitty new thing, which is Merlin, but I hated that.
He's like barely there. He's like
Yeah.
barely existing, barely joking, like barely Eric idling.
When he's introduced as like a giant purple hologram, like towering over them. And
He looks
I'm
like Terrence McKenna.
what is this movie?
It was like a Wizard of Oz reference,
Yeah.
I think, maybe.
Maybe, I don't know.
What's a really good movie? Like, think of a really good movie and name it.
A good
Just-
movie.
Hey,
My brain has deleted all good movies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just
There's
name it-
only Shrek the Third.
Just name a movie that you think is really good.
Night of the Hunter.
Okay, Jesse.
Well, we were talking about Alien earlier, so Alien, I guess.
So Alien. We haven't done an episode of Alien, but we've done an episode on Shrek the Third.
Oh wow, that's horrible.
Also, why have we not done an episode on Alien? We
You know
should
what,
do
though?
that.
I would say how many other podcasts are talking about Shrek the Third. You
That's
know what I mean?
right.
This
We're
is-
cornering the
groundbreaking.
market.
Yeah,
We're breaking ground here. This is
we're gonna be the
People
first.
are
hit.
like, you know what? I wonder if Shrek the Third is good. I think I'll listen to a podcast
I wonder
about
if
it.
anybody's covered
We'll
this.
be able
Have
to
anybody
warn
talked
them.
about
Yeah,
this?
I'll be
Yes.
able.
The
I'll
answer
be
is
able to
yes.
explain to them that don't go into this thinking that it's about Shrek and Fiona looking for a third. This is what I was hoping for the whole time. I thought maybe Donkey is finally gonna have his time with them.
No.
I don't know.
I was wondering if it would be a third ogre,
I don't know.
or are we
Ooh.
do. There is like an interspecies breeding thing because like Donkey and the dragon have babies in this movie. Did they have babies in the first movie or the second movie?
No,
I
they
forget.
never. They just kind of like pop up in this movie. And they're like, "Hey,
Right.
we got like 6 kids," and you're like,
And
Jesus.
they're like half donkey, half dragon babies,
I feel
and there
like
are
they
4
were at
of
the end
them.
of the second movie. I feel like we saw them at the end of the second movie.
Well, and that's fine. Like
It's
that they
implied.
have babies, it's fine. I don't care. What I do care about is there's a scene where like Shrek says, "Well, I know where babies come from," and Donkey says, "Wait, where do babies come from?" And I'm like, dude, you have 4 babies. What is happening
It's like-
between you and that
Have
dragon?
y'all seen that chart of like it'll be like random characters on a chart, and it'll be like knows what sex is, has had sex,
Yeah,
knows what sex is, doesn't have sex,
Donkey is the
doesn't
rare.
know what sex is, has had sex, doesn't know what sex is, doesn't have sex.
Right.
Donkey is the
Oh, well,
doesn't know what it is but has done it.
Well, it's clearly an implication that actually, those aren't Donkey's kids. The dragon fucked a different donkey.
Different donkey, man.
And he doesn't even know.
And when you think about the lore of
The
Donkey
third.
and Dragon's relationship, right? Like in the first movie, Dragon is all like about trying to like push things in a physical way, and Donkey's like, no, I don't think so.
I mean,
And
it's
the second-
assault.
And the second movie, Donkey is all like, yeah, I kind of need like a break from her. Like she's just like all up in my business, and I kind of don't want that. So it makes you think like, did they? I mean, I guess they did at least once, but Donkey makes it seem like he didn't want to do that. So then it makes you really wonder, did Dragon? Did she? What's the term for when you lock somebody into a relationship?
Inseminate?
No. What's it called? What's that called? Where you like entrapment? Did
Oh,
Dragon,
yeah.
like, entrap
I don't
Donkey?
know if that's what entrapment
Gaslighted
means,
him?
but Did she
No.
gaslight him?
No,
into him?
did
She
she
gaslight-
did she intentionally get herself pregnant with his tiny little donkey dick, like to keep him in this relationship?
Oh my
This is
God.
what this podcast is sunk to.
And Donkey didn't even know.
Dick.
He didn't even know.
He didn't even know what he was doing.
No, it's really
That's fucked up.
it's not good when you think about it too
No.
much.
I don't want to think about it at all. Not at all.
So we're going over was Donkey inseminated? Patreon.com/Cinematary. We're talking about Shrek the Third. Was Donkey inseminated?
Call in.
I think you need to make the YouTube name for this video just like nonsensical, like Shrek Donkey
Fidget spinner.
spinner.
Written by
Kids listen,
Seaman.
movies, fun, educational.
Why is the there? Why is it the third?
Yeah, it makes it sound like
It's a
there are 3 generations.
I have an answer to this. They
I
I
They
need it.
the writer said that they did it because it's royalty and they wanted you to think it's like
But no one's the third though.
No one is.
like
Artie-
William
Artie is
William
not
the
third.
Conqueror, William the Conqueror, and Shrek the Third.
But he's the first of his name.
We don't know that
Man, they
because
just
we
had a
never we haven't
whole
had the
gaggle of
fifth movie
ideas.
You know
where
what?
they
You're
talk
right.
about how he got to his swamp.
You know what? You're right. I think the 5th movie will explain really once and for all why this was called Shrek the Third and
Who
how
is the third? Mhm.
it's really these questions that we've all brought up a lot of really good questions on this episode, I think, and I think when we finally do get the 5th movie, it's gonna answer all
speaking
these
of questions, one question I have, and I'm mostly looking out for you here, Zach. Is it possible that Shrek 4 is good? Because
I'm super excited about Shrek 4 because it
Okay.
sounds stupid as fuck.
I'm
But
peacing
like,
out.
Okay.
but like a fun stupid as fuck. This one's not fun.
It's
No.
not. It is boring.
No, the fun thing about Shrek the fourth Shrek movie or whatever
Shrek
is that
Forever After.
right. So the fun thing about that is that they
Can I
realized
just also say that they also have a holiday special called Shrek the Halls. That's amazing.
I mean,
No.
if you wanna watch that in your
No.
free time, go for it. The fun thing about Shrek Forever After, what I'm assuming will be the fun thing about Shrek Forever After, is like they made Shrek the Third and they realized, yeah, we fucked up. You know what? Nobody really likes this plot anymore. We've got to do something with this. So then they make Shrek the Fourth or the Forever After, whatever, and they're like, everything that you saw, we're scrapping it. We're taking a literally completely new direction. What if none of this happened? The end. Okay, here's the movie.
Like,
Sorry, we
none
fucked
of
up.
it happened. Like 1 and 2 didn't happen either.
No, like so Shrek makes a bad deal with Rumpelstiltskin, and then Rumpelstiltskin puts them in a new universe, and everything's totally changed and different. So
That is the only good way.
that's
out
what I'm
of
saying.
this.
They made
Yeah.
it. They made Shrek the Third, and they're like,
I would like
"Wow, we
Rumpelstiltskin
fucked
to
up
do that
bad.
to
We're gonna
me."
totally scrap all this shit, and we're gonna make a new thing for y'all, but still got Shrek in it. Sorry."
But
Okay.
also, maybe when you get to that point, that means that like maybe we should just make something different.
Yeah,
and not make
let
a
the old
sequel.
ways die. You know.
I think this literally what we're saying is we don't have any good ideas because this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Maybe
What
we
is-
should
what is
stop
bad and
giving
never
these
done?
voice actors $10 million.
Oh my
Yeah.
god!
Yes.
And letting the world burn
Let
in the
me
process.
do that. I will do it for you. I will be. a
Mike
voice-
Myers just accepting $1 million, like $10 million, while like people just die across the world. Like, see you all
Selfish
later.
of you, Mike. Did you not consider the starving people, Mike? Come on.
Man.
Nope. He's too busy making Shrek Forever After.
Better
I was
out
almost
than-
late for work for this movie.
So, Seth, you liked it.
I did. I thought it was really good. It's definitely.
We just talked for 40 minutes about how much we hated it, but
Well, I figured we're going to have the 40 minutes of what we liked about it now. So,
Okay, go.
okay. It's in color.
Frank every time the movie's in color.
Black and white is boring.
Yeah, I
For
agree.
old
Fuck you,
people.
James Whale.
yeah.
Yes. There's farts. There's farts.
So very
There are
funny.
farts.
Are there?
Actually, there's not that many
There's
farts
not
in
many,
this
I
one.
don't think.
Oh, but they make up for it at the end when all the babies are there.
That's
and then
true.
they're all just
Lots
like,
of food,
oh,
right.
poop, and
There's
stuff.
the scene where Shrek talks about how much babies poop, and he just says poop 10 times in a row.
Yeah. Eat, I poop, and I poop, and I eat.
I was eating lunch.
And
I
I
poop
know.
while I eat.
Horrible. I already find him repugnant, and then he's talking about poop and babies.
See,
Horrible.
don't give Mike Myers $10 million more. I'll just do it. I'll do it for you guys. You don't even have to call him up. I'll do it. I'll take less. Even.
Why are you describing it to us like we give him $10 million to do it? Like we personally, like, hey guys, do you have
Well,
$10 million?
obviously, DreamWorks is listening
Yeah,
to
exactly.
this podcast.
They're hearing
Like,
Yeah.
That's true.
they're doing market research.
Nobody else has done a Shrek the Third podcast, so they are gonna definitely listen.
You know what? I'm
Yeah.
wondering. I'm
It's
gonna
like
search.
like is blank check doing this shit? Fuck no.
We're gonna
Yeah.
find out. We're
We're
gonna
the
find
first
out.
one on the moon.
Those assholes are not doing Shrek podcast.
Doubtful.
They're sucking the teat of capitalism.
There is at least one podcast. Oh no, there's several podcast episodes about Shrek the Third. One of them is on a show called We Hate Movies.
That's pretty much what this episode is.
Okay.
I don't hate movies. I just didn't really like Shrek the Third, but
I liked it.
Seth liked it. It was
I
hilarious.
kind of want to listen to every
No.
podcast ever.
You just get eclipsed by Shrek
Yeah.
the Third.
I didn't hate it, but I don't know that there was that like really anything good about it either. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. I've seen worse.
I think the
Yeah.
Bible is the
comparison,
worst things I've ever seen.
yeah, the comparison to those YouTube algorithm videos is very apt for me.
Thank
This is like a Pixar DreamWorks algorithm movie. Yeah.
I would rather watch. I'd rather watch this than watch Dear Evan Hansen.
I know. I want to see it.
Wait, Dear Evan Hansen, you said?
Yeah.
I really want to see it because, like, in the same way that I wanted to see Cats,
I want to see it
you
twice.
know?
I want to see it once with just regular Evan Hansen, and then once with de-aged Evan Hansen. I want to see both just to kind of like really get it.
I don't know about all that, but I do want to see it.
It's
Sorry.
a bad movie.
It
All right.
looks terrible.
Man,
It looks terrible.
Justin Timberlake is a bummer in this one too. I forgot. I keep forgetting he's in this movie.
Yeah,
He's
and they make a
Arthur?
big deal about him being like a poster in Fiona's room in the second movie.
so
Oh, that's weird. And then he's a little kid who is like
Yeah.
related to her, who would have been like a not even alive.
Hate that
How's
kid.
she even? This is weird.
Yeah. All right. Well, Shrek the Third. It's on HBO Max and Hulu if you would like to torture yourself, but
Do it.
none of you all are
Do
in
it.
Guantanamo, so don't do it.
Do
do
it.
it.
That's what.
Put it
That's
in your
what. That's
brain.
what. This is what the American government is doing to us. They're making us watch Shrek the Third.
Yeah.
That'll wrap up though this episode of Cinematary. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cinematary, on Twitter and Instagram at handle @Cinematary, and at Letterboxd at letterboxd.com/Cinematary, where we post all the movies that we talked about in this episode. Head over to patreon.com/Cinematary if you'd like to see a bunch of nonsense as we talk on this live stream. Thank you to our patrons: Cam, Chad Newsom, Christina Daughtry, Corey Willingham, Harry Eskin, Candace Sisson, Ron Hayes, Tyler Chandler, and Whitney Rio Ross. We thank you so much for your patronage. Next week, we're going to be talking about Shrek Forever After. Came out in 2010.
I just love
Yeah.
thinking about how they have millions of dollars to toss out to everybody involved with making this movie, and like,
And there's
like my schools are so underfunded. Like,
Yeah, man.
and
I
there's
think about like we'll never have
there's
enough
thousands of
janitors.
homeless people in Los
There's thousands
Angeles.
of homeless people.
Yeah.
my like teaching assistants at my schools are like make poverty wages. I'm like tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt to be a public servant.
65% of the city of
at
Savannah.
least Mike Myers made $10 million to be in this movie.
Yeah, that like 65% of the city that I live in is that can't even make a working wage, that there's a housing crisis because there's no affordable housing for anybody. But all these fucking assholes get to make $10 million to shit a movie.
just shitting and crying.
Tears in the rain. Tears in the rain.
Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Goodbye.
Stay cool.
Bye. Thank you.
Wow. What an episode.